Tailgate, JT, Thursday. Wheels up after the show, heading up to Boise, Idaho. Doing some rafting, cooling off. And I think it's just as hot up there as it is here. We are currently 104 degrees. Oh, we got there, everybody. We had some nice weather over the 4th of July. Now we bake like potatoes, and this is it. Good luck. Good luck if you're in Vegas. This is what we signed up for. We signed up for this, so got to try to get out of here. 20-degree difference, cooler up in Boise. But it's going to be hot up there, too. It's hot out west. Hope everybody's having a good day. A World Cup soccer is back with a big boy game today, big boy game tomorrow, so I'm back to the World Cup. I'll get into that here in a little bit. The Raiders roster, ESPN put out the depth chart of the Raiders, and I will go through that roster as I did. I'm starting to get ahead of the preseason a little bit at the coffee, at the coffee place I go to. Had a coffee with a buddy of mine today, and we were diving through the roster of the Raiders. A little bit better than I thought. A lot better than last year. I mean, what were we thinking last year? What did we put out there last year? Remember, everybody was competing? Competing for what? We didn't have enough good players. Now there's going to be some competition. So if you'd like to join us, we're live on YouTube and X. If you get into YouTube, you can subscribe for free. You get all the rants. If something happens, I go right to YouTube, JT the Brick YT. We'd like you to watch the show if you can. You can do it on your phone, and you get the alerts when the show starts. And the show started 2 minutes ago. If you want to call in on any sports topic, please do here in the first hour of the show, 702-365-9200. I am one of the last full-service sports talk hosts that can talk multiple sports without a teleprompter. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, whatever you want. I think I'm pretty good at it, but you might be better. And if you got something to say, sound off like you got a pair, 702-365-9200. I was talking to Clay, and Clay, you were saying on your show this morning on the morning tailgate, Vinny, and you guys were bouncing around this Mendoza deal. Like, what's up? I mean, I'm not covering this Mendoza story because I don't think he's going to play. I think he's got no chance to play. I don't want to say no chance. He's got little chance to play because the wizard of this playbook is Kirk Cousins, and he's getting a lot of money to come in here and play the start of the season. How do you see it?
Well, it's an argument of, like, what is the best or what is good. And is the good, let's say, for example, a 9-win season and Cousins plays all year? Or perhaps a best-case scenario is that Mendoza gets his feet wet and plays 6 to 8 games, and you get a chance to see something that, you've invested in and you want the identity of your club to be. And if he doesn't play in his first year, is it a waste?
Oh, if he doesn't play, it's a complete waste. What do you mean? If he doesn't play, he's the number 1 pick Heisman Trophy winner. We're not parking him. He's not there with a clipboard. He's going to play. But you make a great point, Clay, and I know you've dove into this schedule. The schedule's the problem. It's not about Mendoza. He's going to play. The question is, where do you drop him in? You know how you drop him in somewhere. I can't figure it out, and I've been breaking down Raiders schedules close to 30 years. The place where everybody I talk to says you drop him in at the Jet game. He gets in the Jet game, and I'm like, the Jet game? What is that? That's months from now. But if you drop him in any earlier, Clay, you're dropping him into a gauntlet anytime, anywhere before the Jet game.
I think if you go by a rule of thumb on offensive lines, if you can trust your offensive line after a month, perhaps that's the moment in which you say, all right, everybody gets it. There's enough chemistry to allow a rookie quarterback to go in there and thrive.
Yeah, and what makes this topic great, if you want to join us on this, and look, I'm going to talk Mendoza as much as I can, okay? Because for years here, I was on the radio talking about Donald Hollis. Remember him? Or Matt McGloin. Want to go back in the hot tub time machine on 95.7 The Game when I'm doing shows about Matt McGloin? I mean, I've had to get through all that over the decades. There's been some really, really bad quarterbacks, and then some good quarterbacks that came in, like Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer and Kerry Collins were very good quarterbacks. Kerry Collins played in a Super Bowl. And Carson Palmer was outstanding. And those guys came here and didn't do much, right? So forget about Jamarcus Russell and some of the quarterbacks that didn't go well. And then covering Derek Carr's entire career, Derek Carr was a very good player. On any given Sunday, he was as good as anyone he was going up against. I mean, he could go up against anybody. No one felt in Raider Nation with Derek Carr going into a Sunday that the Raiders couldn't win the game. Now, Carr didn't play well in every game, and he had some poor performances here and there, but he gave you a chance to win. That's what Cousins is. And that's the focus of the monologue, brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo. I will have multiple Modelos, probably a few at the airport today before I get on the bird to head up to Boise and river raft. And then I will definitely be rafting with some Modelos. No bottles. They'll be in cans. We'll be protective there of the environment as we get going. So for Kirk Cousins, good guy, nice guy, man of faith. Mendoza's a man of faith. Kubiak's a man of faith. These people all have high goals, and they care about everything, and they care about everyone. These are some really good people. When Kubiak walks into that quarterback room and there's Aiden O'Connell, good guy, Fernando Mendoza probably stands up every time, hello, coach. And then you got Kirk Cousins, who's buttoned up. He's buttoned up. So the practices are going to be led, I believe, by Kirk Cousins at training camp. And on the defensive side, they've always been led by Max Crosby. Now, the problem with Max is he wrecks practice. Like when they actually practice and they can put on pads and they can actually get out there and touch people, Max is a game wrecker in practice. So you got to remind Max, hey, Max, come on, man. He can't hit the quarterback, and he doesn't, but he is just flying around. Cousins, yeah, Andrew Walter. Put in some of the old Raider quarterbacks. Yeah, I forgot about that. Andrew Walter, once a Raider, always a Raider. He had a big arm, Andrew Walter, man. That guy could throw it 70 in the air. But back to Cousins, he's going to lead the offense out on the field, I would expect, in training camp, and he's going to have to do it at a very high level. And as long as he has a great practice every day, and even if he throws a pick or two here and there, he will be the lead candidate to come out there and hold on to that job as long as he keeps winning. And again, the Raiders' schedule is very bizarre. It's winnable early, and it's winnable late. The middle of the season is a gauntlet like I've never seen. I mean, it's a gauntlet. I mean, tell me one team in football, one, that plays the Bills and the Rams back-to-back weeks. What? The Bills and the Rams? Those are my two best teams in football. I'm this close, if you can see my fingers, this close to putting Buffalo in the Super Bowl. Again, I put Buffalo in the last 5 years. I have my Super Bowl preview show. I do that in August. I picked the Super Bowl winner. I got it right a few times. Peyton Manning one year with Denver, the Russell Wilson year with the Seahawks. You know, but it's hard to pick the Super Bowl winner. It's not as easy as you think it's hard. And when it comes to making that pick and selecting it, I'm almost there. I'm almost sitting here today picking Bills-Rams in the Super Bowl in L.A. I don't know anybody who could beat the Rams. Seattle's not as good as they were. I thought the Rams were better than Seattle last year, even though Seattle beat them at home. If they played 5 times, I bet you the Rams win 3 or 4 out of the 5. I thought they were better, but Seattle played great at home and beat them. And Buffalo, Josh Allen's going to win a Super Bowl. Sorry, everybody. He's going to win one. Goodbye, Wi-Fi. Nice to see you. He's going to win. He is definitely going to win a Super Bowl. Why not this year? Why not this year? Because the roster's good. They can run it. They can throw it. They can do a lot of things. But the Raiders play them back-to-back, and that is a gauntlet, and you cannot drop Mendoza into that. If you don't feel confident about playing Mendoza, if you don't feel confident, then you're not going to feel confident putting him in for Bills-Rams week. I can promise you that's not happening unless there's an injury or something happens that I don't foresee. So we'll get into that if you want to get into Cousins and what he's going to do, and I'm excited about that. Mendoza was on Max Crosby's podcast and The Rush, and I was able to see Max and his podcast team when Max had his foundation event the other night, and they were pretty excited to get Mendoza to come on. So Mendoza talked about the loyalty, first of Raider Nation, because he's starting to bump into fans around the country and here.
Fans are awesome. They're crazy. I didn't understand, the Raiders, mantra and culture, being from, growing up in the East Coast in Miami. And I got to then understand a portion of it when I was at Berkeley, because Berkeley's right next to Oakland, and a lot of my teammates in Berkeley were, diehard Raiders fans, and just being around Oakland, getting to experience the Raiders. I'm like, okay, these guys are crazy. And then now being in Las Vegas and, interacting with a lot more Raiders fans, being a part of the Raiders organization, it's been such a blessing. And whether people, whatever they have to say about the Raiders organization, I know whenever I go to a fight every single Sunday, I know I want the people who are going to ride and die. And those are what the Raiders fans and Raiders culture has portrayed to me so far. So I'm hyped and I'm blessed to be a part of it. And it's given me that much motivation to do everything possible I can to then best serve, like I said, my teammates, coaches, and the culture and the fans. It's just giving me a whole nother level that I want to get to.
Wow, that is great. I didn't hear that. That was great. Thanks for grabbing that, Clay. Wow. He wants fans to ride and die with. That's Raider Nation. Ride or die. And he's going to be the leader of the Raiders. Period. He's the leader of the Raiders. The face of the franchise from here on out. Everybody's got to get behind him. Did you hear what he said? He loves his fan base. He's our future, the future of Raider Nation. And he wants fans that are going to ride and die. What does that mean? You don't put your tickets on Twitter and say you want to sell them to fans you don't know. That's what that means. What he just said, I'm not putting words in his mouth. He wants ride or die fans, not fans that go on Facebook and X and go, hey, man, I got 4 tickets to sell. I'm not using 4, but I want to sell 4 and hit me up. Hit you up? What happens if someone you don't know hits you up and says, I'm a Raider fan, but they're not. They're a Chief or a Bronco fan. That ain't ride or die. Give your tickets to Raider Dad if you can't go to the game. Or come to me, and there's a chance I'll buy your tickets, and then I'll buy your tickets, if I can, for a certain game, and then I will give them away or sell them to a Raider fan who I know is going to wear black and go to the game. That's ride or die now going forward. Okay, no more of this in Vegas anymore. I know that it's not going to switch this year. We're not going to get 70,000 Raider fans for the Chiefs game. It's not happening. But it's eventually going to get there. It's going to get there, and the only way it's going to happen is if this group wins games, double digits for a couple of years in a row, which is predictable. I think they're going to do it. If not this year, in next year and years to come, this team will be good enough with their current roster and their improvements to win 10-plus games for multiple years, and then more butts will be in the seat wearing black. That's it, because that's what Mendoza wants, a ride or die. You think Mendoza wants to look up and see 30,000 Bills fans? Well, they're coming. Buffalo's coming. It might be, and I don't know this to be accurate yet because these Seat Geeks and Vivid Seats, they all have the numbers. But I'm predicting the largest road crowd in Raider history is going to be Buffalo. I'm predicting that now. The largest, and we've had some big boys come in there, man. We've had the Bears, we've had the Eagles, the dirty, stinking green, drunk birds. Clay, who am I forgetting of other fan bases? It's really, the Niners. Oh, my God, when the Niners came to town. Am I forgetting anybody else who came in here with alarming fan bases?
Steelers, Bears.
Oh, God, the Steelers. How could I forget the Steelers? Oh, someone slapped me. The Steelers. When the Steelers come in those terrible towels. So I'm predicting the biggest crowd ever to come here from an opposing fan base is Buffalo. Because I went to college around there, and I've gotten 50 texts from people who want to come to the game. I'm like, how many tickets do you need? They think like I'm a ticket guy, like there's a bowl. There was a bowl of tickets in Oakland. I went by someone's office, and I just put my hand in a bowl, and I could get you in. I could get you in Oakland. And near Raider Mort, may he rest in peace, I can get you 2 tickets in Oakland. You didn't have to give me anything. There's no tickets. Every ticket's sold out. There's not a ticket available pretty much to go to a Raider game because they're sold out. And people are like, what do you mean they're sold out? Yeah, there's no tickets. They're sold out. You want a suite? I'll put you in touch with my buddies in the suite department. They'll sell you a suite. But the tickets are pretty much gone. So you got these Buffalo fans calling me like, hey, JT, you got a hookup? What? The only hookup I got for you is if I know someone, but I'm not encouraging. And I got some really good friends, college fraternity brothers, who are Bills fans. I love them like brothers. I'll hook them up with 2. They'll have to pay, but I'm not going out of my way because I don't want other people in the building. Not my seats for sure. So that's what's going to happen here. Fans are going to buy tickets until, as Mendoza says, this is ride or die, and the ride or die fans start holding on to their tickets. Wow, I wasn't planning on going on that rant. But I just did, and I believe that. Things come to me. And when I heard Mendoza say ride or die, it triggered something in my brain to say to Raider fans, hey, if you're not a ride or die Raider fan, get out of the way and make some room for some black hole ride or die fans here. That's how we're going to turn the building around. More from Mendoza on The Rush, on Kirk Cousins, the relationship, the mentoring, the advice he's getting.
The advice that he's given me is just off preparation. And you see a common theme with all, great quarterbacks and them being prepared, if not over prepared, and them making sure they're doing everything possible and being prepared to the max to the max point in order to best serve their teammates and to best serve and give themselves the best chance to succeed on Sundays. And seeing the lengths that Kirk has gone to on the mental aspect of it, and the way that he stays after hours, is there till 7 p.m. at night studying, is something that I look up to and I'm looking to replicate and get my process refined off his.
Yeah, I think that's a great soundbite, isn't it? That's a really good soundbite. He's just going to do everything right. He's going to do everything right. He's going to stay late. He's not leaving early. He's going to go there. He's going to try to outwork everybody. You're not going to outwork Max Crosby. And from what Fernando just said, you're really not going to outwork Kirk Cousins, right? So the work ethic is going to be great. I think that Kubiak is a grinder, right? He's just a grinder. He's all ball. So not that Pete Carroll wasn't a grinder. Pete did it differently. He wanted the guys to be looser, compete playing basketball. Everything was about competition, from walking from one meeting room to the other. Good idea. It didn't work. So everyone's getting back to ball and playing football again, and practices are real. And they're real, and I think they're going to be really fast and really intense, and I think they're going to have a sense of urgency. I really do. From everything I've heard, because I haven't seen it yet, a little bit of OTAs, mandatory mini camps, that stuff, you don't see much. But when they start going at it at the end of July, I think that first practice they come out there and they're done stretching and they go into what they're doing, you're going to see it faster, more intense, and it's going to be good. It's the type of football I love to see. I love hardcore football, intense football, no games. Get out there and practice to the best of your ability. And then Mendoza talking to Max about just being down to earth, being genuine. Max has a lot of flair on his podcast, and Mendoza sat down and talked about this.
Kirk is spot on about that. If you're not genuine, guys pick up real quick. Because in college is different. You know what I mean? You're growing as a man. You're trying to figure out who you are and evolve as a leader. And you're still going to school, and you're just trying to figure out life and how to operate. But once you get to the league, everyone's grown men. Dudes have full families. They got a different type of different types of motivations, and everyone's coming from a different walk of life. So being genuine, you'll never go wrong. And trust me, I'm a little weird too. I do a lot of I'm not saying you're weird, but I'm off the wall sometimes, and I'll say some people look but people will look at me and be like, what did he just say? This dude's out of his mind, but I'll be like, oh, my bad, I'm probably tripping.
Yeah, so they're having a good time there, talking and chopping it up. Someday I will come in here and there'll be 9 callers on hold, and I'm going to quit. I'm going to go right into the manager's office and say I'm done. Until then, I have to remind you, I have open lines. The Sports Talk Show does great. It does better when you communicate, and you can come in here and agree, disagree, bounce some stuff off. We're talking about the Raiders and the gear up to the end of July. And we got 2 more weeks. You got 2 more weeks of rough sledding in a lot of ways. World Cup, I'm going to get into the World Cup a little bit more next hour. We'll hit on that. And then we have the NBA Summer League. DeBanza's going to make his debut tonight. That's always a big deal when you go to NBA Summer League for the debut of the number 1 pick overall. So A.J. DeBanza, who's going to debut tonight, I was there for the debut of Wemby and a lot of other first overall picks, and the gym is packed at the Thomas and Mack because everybody wants to be there. LeBron James remains a free agent after telling the Lakers he'll play for another team. Shams Charania reporting the Cavaliers, Heat, and 76ers are now the top 3. Wait a second. What happened to the Warriors? Oh, Warriors, where the hell are you? Wait a second. Shams can't be right. Did they not add that to the Chiron? Did they forget to put the Warriors in on NBA Today? How are the Warriors going to play a basketball game without LeBron? I thought they're at a point now where they have to get LeBron because Draymond opted out for LeBron. They didn't get anybody else. They didn't get Kawhi. They didn't get Giannis Antetokounmpo. They didn't trade for Nikola Jokic. They didn't get Jaylen Brown, who went to Cal Berkeley. He was available. I think the price was very rich. So the Warriors are doing what? Steph's up at the American Century playing golf in Tahoe. He's up in Tahoe. He's got the biggest crowds surrounding him. And what are the Warriors going to do? So I don't know what they're going to do, man, because I don't know of anyone, Clay, do you know anyone left in the NBA? Because I'm going around, DeMar DeRozan, I think, is a fabulous player, and I think he should go there now. Just get him, because he'll get you 19 a night, and Steph could get you 30 a night. But all the big boys, Clay, are gone, and I didn't see the Warriors grab one of them.
Yeah, in fact, now they're just holding a bag. Now they're just holding on to like some sort of desperate notion where maybe they have to go and start offering up the deals like, around $70 million just to make sure that they have LeBron intact.
Yeah, I don't know how it could pencil and the Warriors cap and what's going to happen here. But you Warrior fans, you've been quiet. I know from who listens to this show and who are the biggest streamers for us. I got a lot of Warrior fans right here in front of me in the chat. So one of you want to call in and tell me what you're going to do? Anybody want to tell me? Or Joe Lacob, the owner? Anybody know what the Warriors are doing? Warriors are a pretty big brand, man. You roll out Steph and old man Draymond next year for those ticket prices, good luck. Good luck, man. That isn't the dynasty years of Kevin Durant. I can promise you that. So, Warrior fans, love to know what you're thinking here overall and the possibility going forward with that. And the other big story, baseball, I've been really focused on the Yankees meltdown. They're hitting today. The Dodgers, Ohtani, hit his 300th home run, which is great. That was a big milestone, something big for everybody to talk about. And then the other news around town is there seems to be multiple groups trying to line up to get the NBA team here. So I'm going to be more aware of this next week because I'm starting to talk to the players involved, some of the people behind the scenes who could be a part of some of those groups. And I want to make sure I'm buttoned up and I know what I'm talking about because no one knows what they're talking about. Remember Diana Rossini and all the NFL insiders and all the fake Max News that he's going where, this and that? They didn't know what they were talking about. I did. So when people ask me, man, who do you think's going to own this NBA team? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I work for Mark Davis. Mark Davis, didn't he get here first with the Aces? Don't owning the Aces does not mean you get first shot of refusal. You own the Aces. That's part of the NBA. The NBA owns the WNBA. Mark took over a team that really, and they weren't really doing much. And Mark's won 3 out of 4 championships. Bob Iger, ABC Disney, that's a big name. He's got big numbers in his Rolodex. We're hearing about Jerry Colangelo and, of course, Mr. Bill Foley, who owns the Vegas Golden Knights. He wants in, and he's got some leverage. With T-Mobile, the Golden Knights' success, how to launch an expansion team. The Raiders were not an expansion team, but if you look at now the blueprint going forward to start an expansion team, Bill Foley is the chairman of the board of that. He's the best out there, the most recent to do it. And this will be an expansion team. People have been asking me, JT, you're going to give up the Knicks for the new NBA team here in town? I said, interesting point. I did that for the Golden Knights. I gave up the Islanders to become a Golden Knight fan. I will not give up my Knicks. But I'll root for this team to do well here because it'll provide jobs. Your kids, my kids, whoever, someone might work for the team and get a good job here. And we want jobs. So that's the monologue as we open up the show. Let's not shut me out today. Let's get going because I'm wheels up here in a few hours and I'm going to be in a river and I'm going to be drinking Modelo's and the sun's going to be bouncing and I'm going to see live music. And I'm getting out of the heat dome here, but I'd like to hear from you. And knock wood, Clay, knock wood, because sometimes in Vegas they'll tell you the planes are hot or the runway's too hot or something like that. None of that today. We want planes to take off and come down and get going here. The monologue, we appreciate our friends at M Resort Spa and Casino. I'm going to be kind of over there a lot because the Raiders training camp, the rookies are staying there. Coaches, meetings, everything that's going on there. A lot of families of the players are staying there in and around camp. So if you want to go see the second tower, which is open, plus their concerts at the pool, it's the M Resort Spa and Casino. Raider Nation, we'd like you to be a part of the show. If you don't, I got it. But I'd like to hear from some fans here on the 28-minute monologue I just did on 6 or 7 topics that I think are really important, including the World Cup. Now that the United States is out, Will you watch more World Cup or less? I think we have the answer when I come back here. Good sound coming in also, and the excitement of new partnerships coming to the show. Had a great meeting yesterday with Remy Martin, and Remy Martin is back for football season with that Cointreau. Doesn't matter what tequila you use, doesn't matter. We now use Fletcher Azul, but you can mix it with Cointreau to make the best margarita of your life. That's the second time I went to Kenny Chesney, waiting for the Wi-Fi to come back. How many times have I mentioned the Wi-Fi this week? Way too much. Hopefully the Wi-Fi works Monday at the Thomas and Mack better than it does here. That's for sure. I still have this wristband around my wrist from Kenny Chesney last night. And I showered and I swam today and did all that, but couldn't get the wristband off, so it's a little bit tight. So last night, my son and my wife were going to Kenny Chesney. Mom and son going because they like to go to see live music together. So I was over at CCON, and that's the big sports conference that was over at the Bellagio. And Lee Steinberg, I was with Lee Steinberg and a bunch of people there. It was really cool to see a lot of innovators and young people. And they had this really cool thing that I've never seen before. Through my son's firm, I-15. That's the firm he works for and does NIL, and one of their clients is Tim Brown. So they have a virtual twin, AI, artificial intelligence, an AI version of Tim Brown. And I tweeted it out if you want to take a look at it at JT the Brick. So they sit me down at this table, and I'm looking at Tim Brown, an image of Tim Brown that looks just like Tim. And the next thing, I say into the microphone, "Hey, Tim, what's happening?" It's JT the Brick. And all of a sudden, this virtual Tim Brown, "JT, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. JT the Brick's been on." Everything that was plugged into this AI world, and Tim Brown, they used the AI with his voice, knew everything about me. How long we've been friends, everything, mentioning my son and all that. It was mind-blowing. And that's the type of innovation I saw. So Lee Steinberg gave a keynote speech about 4 o'clock. On brain health. Lee's really passionate about brain health. And he's about to give a speech, and I'm hanging out. Then they had a cocktail reception. And I look down at my phone, and it's about 6:45, and my wife says, "We got an extra Kenny Chesney ticket." I go, "What do you mean?" And my wife and my son going to the show, they bumped into someone they knew at the Venetian, and their friend couldn't make it and had to cancel. And they're like, "Yeah, bring your husband." So I raced over and got in an Uber and I got in a cab, actually. Cab drivers, we love you. Cabbies, still there. I got in a cab from the Bellagio, got over to the Venetian, and I met my wife and son, and then we walked in to the show, and we were on the floor. I just want to say this again, and I'll say it again next hour. I'm a floor guy. That's it. I've been to the Sphere, luckily, in a suite, which that's the mountaintop. If you can get in a suite for the Sphere, there's nothing better because you got booze and food, and the view's incredible, right? It's right there. But if you want to be in the second deck, the 200s, great seats, very good seats. Then the 300s are a little bit high, and then the 4, I've never been up there, but you need oxygen and a backpack to get up there. But I've been on the floor now for multiple shows, and I'm not buying a ticket anymore. I'm going right to the floor. And people say, well, you got to put your head and neck up. Who cares? I came there to see the artist. I want to see the person performing in front of me. I don't want to watch television and screens. Now, it's nice because these screens are incredible. If you've been a Fish, if you've been a Dead & Company like I've been to, the screens are amazing. And, yeah, you got to put your head up a little bit if you want to see everything. But I like to see the eye contact of the artist, Kenny Chesney. He's got great guitar players. He's got a female bass player who's off the chart. And it was really nice show. And then we got out of there. It was pretty easy to get out of there, too, man. That place was packed. Clay, if you can find out, please Google what the capacity is for Sphere. I don't know what the capacity is. I should. But there wasn't an empty seat in the house. Place was a mob scene for Kenny Chesney. So he clearly knows, he definitely knows this market, and his fans can come to one place. What's that, Clay?
20,000.
20,000. How'd you like to do a residency with 20,000 people a night? The Eagles. Now Metallica is coming up, and Metallica is going to be a little bit expensive. And people are asking me about Metallica tickets, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You might as well sign up and be a Metallica fan club member. I don't know what those tickets are for. I'll get in. Believe me, I'm going. I don't know when I'm going. I'm going. And I can't wait to go see Metallica there. But if you go see Metallica there, just go on the floor. Stand up. You're fit enough. If you're able to stand on the floor and be a part of that, because it's not super crowded where people you go to concerts, there's like a mosh pit and people are pushing, shoving, and fights because everyone's cranky. No, Sphere, plenty of room. I was double-fisted last night, man, and it was no one bumping into you, nothing. It was fantastic. Really good time. Way to go, Kenny Chesney. John Gruden texted me because he saw my tweet that I was there, and John Gruden's really tight with Kenny Chesney. All right, Q, what do we got here? Obi-1K from Murrieta, California. Did I get that right?
What's going on,
Where
JT?
are you, man? Let's go. Let's go.
Huge Kenny Chesney fan. I'm so glad that you were double-fisted and having a great time. You know what time it is, JT?
You got a call for me about sports or just want to do Chesney here? What do you want to do?
I want to talk to you about the Raiders. So who do you think?
Goodbye. I don't do what do you think radio. I don't do question and answer radio. I give you 28-minute monologues. I give you 28 minutes. When I start the show, I give you everything. And you call and say, what do you think? I just gave you that in the monologue. I told you everything I know. You call me about what you think. That's it. You come in here blasting, firing away. Papa Meach, always good to hear from him. He's in Colorado, and he's listening to Raider Nation Radio. Papa Meach, how are you?
Boy, JT.
Woo, thank you.
Hey, JT, what do you think? I'm just kidding, brother. Just kidding. Hey, one of your topics, your hot topics was about my Warriors, and you're a big NBA fan of your team, Knicks, and I love my Warriors. I love my Raiders the most, but the Warriors are my second team. And what are they going to do? I don't know. As a fan, one of the gifts, a huge Christmas gift I've gotten from being a Warriors fan is seeing the entire career of Steph Curry, who I think is one of the greatest NBA players that will ever play. I'm not going to do the ranking game. Oh, he's number 5 or 3. Yeah, I don't like that stuff when people do that and comparing. It's like you have. I'm sorry, JD. You have 2 sons, right?
I have 2 sons. Yes.
Someone asked, "Hey JT, which son do you think is the best?" It's baloney.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and how we all debate as fans which person is the best center and all that stuff. But in my mind, Steph Curry will go down as one of the greatest players ever in the NBA. And so I've got to see him as a fan every game he's played, mostly because I watch every Warrior game through all these years. So my concern is he might have another strong 2, maybe 3 more seasons, probably 2, maybe 1. And I want to see our guys at least a minimum in the playoffs every year and having a chance to go for it. And your question was, what are the Warriors doing and what are we going to do? Because Draymond did his deal for us, and now the news seems to be, and it's a rumor, that the Anthony Davis thing was kind of the rumor, and then it went away. Well, it's coming back that the Warriors now are trying to get him. But what's the point if James doesn't come and play for us? So Laker will spend the money. We know that. I just hope they have a plan because I think it would be one of the biggest crimes of all in the NBA for Steph to be playing his last 2 seasons, and we don't have a complement of players surrounding him. They're going to help this team at least get into playoffs and them going maybe for a title one more time. It probably won't happen. My biggest gripe about the whole thing with the Warriors is, I almost swore, sorry.
Okay.
If Durant wouldn't have left the Warriors, I think they could have built maybe a dynasty never seen before. But that happened, and so it happened. So.
Yeah, thanks, Papa Meach. Appreciate you, man. Good luck. See you're doing great with your podcast and what you're doing, so congrats, and thanks for calling the show. When it comes to the Durant leaving, that goes down as, without question, one of the greatest missed opportunities in NBA history. In NBA history, because I was there to see it, and I've never seen anything like it. When they won their second ring, I was up there doing my show. I was up there 5 days a month, and I was going to the NBA Finals, and I was watching Durant come out and stretch and work out, before the game, right when the media was allowed in. And then Steph would come out shooting threes from the tunnel. And it was like, whoa, wow. There's Durant, there's Steph. They're both in their prime. And then Durant ran. It wasn't a money issue. Durant ran away from the Warriors looking to do other things, ended up in Brooklyn, Houston, Phoenix. What a mess. But Durant's still going to have one of the greatest careers of all time. He will be top 10 all-time in NBA history. Not top 5, but top 10's damn good. And he's won a lot of games, and he's scored a lot of points, and he's been a great player. But what could have been if he stuck around? Big Al in San Francisco would know, as he's at every Warriors game. Big Al, what's going on with the Warriors? If they don't get LeBron, how are they going to compete?
Joe Lacob doesn't sit on the sidelines and wait for everybody else to make a splash, and then he figures out what he wants to do. He is most likely the most proactive owner that we've seen in the NBA in many, many, many years. He's not sitting still. My belief is that, and you could say I'm looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, and that's okay. LeBron comes to Golden State. They're going to figure a way to get Anthony Davis out of Washington, because Anthony Davis is leaving Washington anyway. That team is stacked with 3 big 7-footers to play center. And then they drafted their number 2 guy they drafted. Their number one draft pick was the 6'9" kid out of Brigham Young. He's a power forward. He's not sitting on the bench. There's a logjam. So they have to leverage that logjam to get the most back that they can. So they're going to play their cards. But Anthony Davis is moving, and he's not moving. He's not going to move for Joel Embiid in Philadelphia, and he's not moving for Evan Mobley in Cleveland. So if he's going to move, it's probably going to be right out here, because he's just as tight with Steph as LeBron is. And if they're able to, and wherever Anthony Davis goes is where you're going to see LeBron go. And the Warriors freed up the money with Draymond opting out to pay the mid-level exception to LeBron. Davis makes what he makes. That's a contract. Draymond resigns, probably will get extended an additional year to, as a thank you for doing what he did. But I look at this whole thing and I say, if LeBron will probably end up coming here, because it's the move that makes most sense from a financial standpoint and from a basketball standpoint, because the Warriors don't have a ball-dominant player. But when you go to Cleveland, they have 2. One is named Harden when he signs, and the other is named Mitchell. If he goes to Philadelphia, it's a roadblock called Embiid, and you don't know if he's going to play half the games or 1/4 of the games. So that's not necessarily such a given. And in Miami, they got a ball-dominant player in Giannis. You can't have 2 ball-dominant players on the same team. Golden State doesn't have one. Steph Curry is not a ball-dominant player.
Yeah.
That's where I think he ends up. If he doesn't end up here, then they're going to end up getting they'll end up getting, obviously, a lesser talent once this whole thing frees up and all these other guys start moving. But the Warriors will be non-contenders. Joe Lacob makes sure they're a contender.
Yes. Thank you, Big Al. Always a great call. Always a great, well-thought-out NBA call and football caller. All right, breaking news. The Clippers and the Raptors trade for Kawhi Leonard will not be complete until after the NBA's investigation, what happened with the Clippers and his contract and that connected contract he had under the table. So that is breaking news. Kawhi Leonard could be in a lot of trouble here, depending on what this. Pablo Torre did a really nice job. If you watch this podcast on diving into that, Kawhi and his uncle and this company that they were dealing with to get fees and appearance, it's a mess. It's not very conducive for great sports talk radio because it's very complicated. But if Kawhi Leonard was getting money on the side that he shouldn't have, and it was funded, and Steve Ballmer and Kawhi were involved and in the know, not only are the Clippers in trouble, but Kawhi, this would probably cancel the deal, or something would have to happen for Kawhi to go. I'm not a big fan of Kawhi Leonard because he's a load manager. And there's no one, everyone's load managed a bit. Steph Curry load manages a little bit. LeBron, barely, but a little bit. Kawhi will have a statue outside the hall of load management. The first 2 statues will be Greg Popovich for being the contributor, the guy who invented load management with the Spurs, and Kawhi, who's taken advantage of it the most. 702-365-9200 is the number. And, with NBA Summer League, LeBron usually pops in. Right, with a year with Bronny, seeing him and LeBron when the Lakers are here. LeBron will come to Vegas He will walk on the court. He will sit courtside. He'll have a suite at the Wynn or Encore. He'll show up at one of these pool parties, and he'll be here. LeBron's coming here, and I'm going to get into it next hour on who's going to buy this NBA team. Who are the front runners for the NBA? Everybody that I'm talking to suggesting that LeBron, whoever wins the bid, LeBron will be a part of that team. He will connect his horse to that cart, and LeBron will have a minority share in the NBA in Vegas. And same with Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson's got the ability to be a big part of that too. All right, a lot more to get to here. We got a busy show packed up. Coming up next, Clay will give us the word of the day that we have to look at. So you can text in and have a great opportunity for a trip. And road trips are great. I'm going on one later today.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
Being in Las Vegas and, interacting with a lot more Raiders fans, being a part of the Raiders organization, it's been such a blessing. And whether people, whatever they have to say about the Raiders organization, I know whenever I go to a fight every single Sunday, I know I want the people who are going to ride and die. And those are what the Raiders fans and Raiders culture has portrayed to me so far. So I'm hyped and I'm blessed to be a part of it. And it's given me that much motivation to do everything possible I can to then best serve, like I said, my teammates, coaches, and the culture and the fans. It's just giving me a whole nother level that I want to get to.
That's a great soundbite. I'm going to ask Clay to get it, maybe to demo Dave the Wizard here. We'll include that in an open, like just the ride or die part. I love the ride or die part from Mendoza. That's a T-shirt. Fernando Mendoza, come ride or die with me. I love that. And that's great. I love that soundbite. That fires me up. It fires me up that he understands the culture and understands what it's like. And I like that. That's what a quarterback should say. And we don't even know if he's going to play. Raider Nation 920 brings back the summer of fun. Clay, tell us about this, because Terribles, and we know Terribles for decades here in Vegas, are bringing back the summer of fun as we celebrate America 250. You'll have a chance for a bit of an escape, Clay. So what do we have lined up today?
All right, yeah, we're just in the middle of the summer of fun, and this week's prize is a 3-night stay in Manhattan at a nice hotel and flight from LAX to New York City. And all you got to do is text the word swim. Text the word swim, SWIM, to 702-365-9200. That puts you in a drawing for a chance to win. You got 5 days to do it throughout each week, and swim is today until 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Wow, I'd like to go on that New York trip. I'd like to tag along on that New York trip for sure. So we're playing all this sound from today. Another piece that Clay found was Brady and Kelsey. This is on their podcast about Bill Belichick. Now, before we play this, I consider Bill Belichick the greatest coach of all time. I do. Other people don't. I don't know how you can't. What, the number? He's short of Don Shula, so he needs to coach a little bit more? All right, but I think the rings, all of his rings combined, back it up. Here's Tom Brady.
I'd be remiss if we get out of this interview without bringing up the old ball coach. We haven't talked about Bill one time yet.
Yeah.
I see so many things, and this started happening while you guys were still in the league. Is it Bill? Is it Tom? Who is responsible for the greatest era of success in the history of the NFL?
Yeah.
How do you react to those kind of, clickbaity arguments, as well as, what do you think of Bill and what he meant for your success?
First of all, I think he's the greatest coach that, greatest head coach in terms of preparing a team to win. There was nobody better. My privilege to play for him as his quarterback. There's no coach I'd rather choose. And it's just a dumb analogy. It's like, what's more important, the left tackle or the center? I don't know.
Well, left tackle. We can be honest about that one. Left tackle.
I disagree. There's nobody more important to winning Monday through Saturday than the head coach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially in football. Yeah.
Especially in football.
Yeah.
And there's nobody more important on Sunday than the quarterback. Now, everybody's important. The person who washes the clothes is important. The quarterback just has an outsized kind of ability to help the team win because he touches the ball so much.
Yes.
But I need everybody to do their job. But if you have bad quarterback play, it doesn't matter what else you do, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And if you have bad coaching, it doesn't matter how well the players are doing, you're going to lose. So I just think that question is they're all important. There's no way I could have been the player I was without him. And I think we pushed each other to get the best out of each other. And I think he's incredible. Anyone who played underneath him would say the same thing.
Hall of Famer, should have been first ballot, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
Besides all that, man, one of the most respected ever to.
Wow. All right. So Kelsey was probably saying something at the end there. Thank you, Clay. And I agree. He's the greatest coach of all time. The 2 Super Bowls as the Giants defensive coordinator adds on to the 6 Super Bowls as the head coach of the Patriots. And, I think it's really ridiculous when people have the discussion, who's better, who's more important, Brady or Belichick. And I always say they're identically even because Brady turned out to be the greatest player ever. Right, number one. The number 1 player in NFL history is Tom Brady. It used to be Jerry Rice or Jim Brown and Joe Montana. It's Tom Brady. And Bill Belichick was the guy that they picked Tom Brady when they didn't have to pick him in the 6th round. They didn't want him. If they wanted him, they would have taken him in the 4th round or the 5th round. They did not want him. They just took him to be a 4th-string quarterback, and under Belichick, he developed into being Tom Brady. That's how I see it. All right, we got a big second hour coming up here. Come on back for that. Excited if you miss any portion of the show. It's at lvsportsnetwork.com. Also, if you please join us on all the social media platforms here on Raider Nation Radio, because Raider Nation Radio has a new YouTube channel too, which is going to be growing and expanding with a lot of opportunities for you as we continue on this great Thursday.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Welcome back, everybody, to hour number 2 on Raider Nation Radio, my last hour of the week. I'll be back on Monday. Clay Baker's got us covered here. Q coming up at the top of the hour. So this morning, and we got a lot to get to here, also my conversation with Amin Elhassan heading into Summer League. Every summer I reposition, play an interview that I did that I liked during the week on a Thursday or a Friday, and we'll get to that coming up here a little bit. But this morning I got up and I went and had coffee with a buddy of mine who I see probably once a month for breakfast or coffee, and we spent about 20 minutes talking about the World Cup. And it's a friend of mine who is not a real big soccer guy, and he was raving about it. And he says he listens from time to time and heard me talking about it and what I thought about it. And again, just to recap this, as soccer is in progress, and again, we have some really big games coming up here over the next couple of days, that the World Cup worked. It's done. It's perfect. It worked. It was a big winner for Fox. The ratings are monstrous. Huge ratings. FIFA is going to make $2 billion on the next transaction because they thought Fox got a deal at under $500 million. So they're going not to $1 billion, but to $2 billion for English language and Spanish language. And everybody's going to bid on it. I was reading today, the Wall Street Journal even talked about it. YouTube. You can be talking about Netflix, YouTube, Amazon. All of these companies are positioned financially to make a run at Fox. And if I'm Fox, there's a number that you can't go past, right? We all have a number. For whatever we do in life, we have a number. What is our house worth? If you don't want to sell your house, there's a number if someone comes to you. Well, Fox has got a big decision coming up here because they did a great job. And they put their neck on the line, hoping that this would work, and it exceeded expectations. So I think it's a fascinating topic with Messi and Mbappe, Eric Haaland, all the players that are left and what we're seeing, to have the stars playing heading into this weekend coming off the 4th of July. Bravo. I thought it was fantastic. Now, earlier today, it was leaked that Christian Pulisic, who was supposed to be the best American soccer player, and by no way in hell is he the best American soccer player, but he's injured. He suffered a microfracture versus Belgium. That is serious when you play soccer and you're running around and you're using your legs and you can't use your hands. You better believe that's a big injury. So as we look at him going forward, plays for AC Milan, he sustained a bone bruise and microfracture in his lower left leg. He'll be sidelined for several weeks. And they also made it clear that due to his recovery time, he would not have played if the United States had advanced. And the United States didn't advance because Belgium whacked him. But he had an X-ray and an MRI on Tuesday, and The Athletic reported this. So I wish the guy well. I think he wasn't fit the whole World Cup. He missed games. He had a calf injury. Now he's got this microfracture, bone bruise, and it's serious enough. So maybe people will get off his back. because he has been getting rolled on the internet. Everybody's been crushing him. And he's an American athlete who represents the Stars and Stripes. And I hit him hard, too, because he just didn't play well. He didn't get to the ball. He turned it over a lot. But I think more and more people are starting to see that he was not healthy throughout the World Cup and clearly got injured here. Clearly got injured. So that is a big deal. All right, couple of other things. NBA Summer League. I'll be there Monday. We'll broadcast from noon to 2 from the concourse. That's really evolved a lot over the last couple of years. We've had a great time going out there, and I expect it to be great again. So it's going to be fantastic, and hopefully we'll get some executives or a player or someone involved with that. I like talking to the broadcasters who are out there, and from time to time I'll catch a dinner with George Sedano. I'll take Kurt Heelan or Olden Polynice out to lunch because they come on the show so often that I want to make sure I'm able to thank them, and we go to Virgin or we go somewhere and get a great lunch. So that'll happen next week. On the Raiders front, there is a lot of buzz around this roster build. And as you look at what worked, there's a great article at ESPN.com by Bill Burnwell, who's a very good writer on roster construction. And he talked about how Super Bowl level rosters have been built at every position. And he went back and looked at the Seahawks last year. And man, looking back at the Seahawks, what they were able to do on defense was incredible. Okay, the Seahawks sent a first-round pick to the Vikings for Percy Harvin back in the day. And then they talked about how they built this entire team up and the culture of Seattle, which Pete Carroll was a huge part of that culture. And so was Clint Kubiak, a bit of a different culture because Pete Carroll was gone. But I recommend everybody looking at this article because it really shows what you're able to do and how you're able to go out there if you're going to do it right. And I truly believe that the Raiders are building their roster correctly. But now what they have to do is they got to figure out how they're going to be able to get a lot out of guys who were already here before John Spytek was here and clearly before Clint Kubiak was here. So when you look at what the Raiders are doing, my priorities are Caleb Rogers at camp. Is Caleb Rogers going to be a starter on the offensive line? Is he going to be able to start? DJ Glaze, Jackson Powers-Johnson, we're penciling them in. The coaches might not be. We don't know who's penciling them in. We don't know if they're going to have good workouts, good training sessions, or good in meetings or not. These guys got to compete, and one of them, especially Jackson Powers-Johnson, this is a massive season for him. Really important. And I think he got the raw end of the deal. I really do. I think they should have started him at center because he was a center in college. Obviously, the former regime did not like him at center. They moved him over to right guard. He's played left guard, and he hasn't blown anybody away because of his lack of ability. Now he's available, and he should be in better shape. He's got to be in better shape because he's going to compete every day. And I think with Coach Dennison and Kubiak and what they're doing up front with this offense and running the ball, Jackson Powers-Johnson's got to make it clear to everyone in that building, from the coaches all the way down to his teammates, that he's going to be available and healthy, he's going to be reliable, and he's going to be a mauler. I think he is. You know, I've met his parents a number of times. They're on the rooftop of the Ghost Bar with my wife and I last year after the draft, and we were talking, and he's been through a lot. This guy's been through a lot, and he's not complaining. But the former coaches here, I'm not talking about the former executives, the former coaches here did not believe in him. They didn't believe in him enough. And I'm on the side of Jackson Powers-Johnson because Brendan Carroll shouldn't have been coaching the offensive line. Pete Carroll hired his son, who was not equipped to coach the offensive line. That point made that he wasn't available to be coached to the highest degree. Now he is. So I can imagine this entire offensive line, because Tyler Linderbaum's a stud. But when you look at the younger players, I mentioned Caleb Rogers, DJ Glaze, Jackson Powers-Johnson, other than Colt Miller, the younger players here and the second line of offensive linemen should be getting outstanding, proven coaching up front. And we're going to see what happens also with Trey Zune. A lot of people think he can jump in and play. He played multiple positions. He's not going to play center like he did at Texas A&M because we arguably have, Raider Nation, the best center in all of football. So if he turns out to blow everyone away and he's a mauler, he's going to compete for one of those guard positions. And I think that's fantastic. And God forbid anything happens to Linderbaum, you got two guys you know can jump in and play center, and Zuna and Jackson Powers-Johnson. So they have depth at center. And I don't want to hear about Jordan Meredith, who I think is a great guy. But if the best we have on the offensive line is Jordan Meredith as a starter, I'd be a little bit concerned about that. If Jordan Meredith and DJ Glaze are starters, I would look to upgrade the offensive line with camp cuts when good offensive linemen get cut during training camp. They're going to get cut because of salary cap reasons or just the fact that there's competition. And if the Raiders can pull in a starting offensive lineman, I said that last year. Remember, this time last year, I'm like, what's going on? They have Caillou at corner and Darian Porter. That's not going to work. And it didn't work. Those guys got blasted last year, especially Caillou, who actually played well at times and had a couple of picks. The level of the roster of this Raiders team is so significantly better now that when the subs come in, and a lot of them will be playing on special teams, the Raiders are going to have players who are competing at practice to get on the field for some snaps, because I believe this offense and especially this defense is going to have a lot of different looks, and there's going to be a lot more packages than even Patrick Graham had. And I think Robbie Leonard's going to step it up, and he's going to be subbing guys in and out. And you're going to be seeing certain players play that might be benched in a game and not play a snap. They're going to play. Tonka Hemingway is going to get in the game, I hope. I start looking at the depth chart of what they have here. Malcolm Kuntz, as of today, I don't have penciled in as a starter, depending on what they do with the 3-4. And I think they're going to be in the 4 package, 4-3 more so than not with the talent they have. And Max Crosby is an immovable object. But the depth chart that they have up here at ESPN, so I got 3 depth charts in front of me here on my computer. I'll go to the one at ESPN. They have the starting defense for the Silver and Black: Thomas Booker, Adam Butler, Jonah Laulu, and Max Crosby. I don't see that. I don't see that. I see Malcolm Kuntz most likely there coming off the edge. And when we look at Kieran Crawford, who I had a chance to interview that young man at the Raider Draft Class Luncheon, he's an edge rusher right out of college at Auburn. Young, motor. He's got to be on the field. He might be better than Malcolm Kuntz. We've been waiting for Malcolm Kuntz to take his game to the next level. What are we going to see from him with this new coaching staff? I mean, this coaching staff isn't loyal to Malcolm Kuntz. He's been here for a while. Last year, he was playing like someone who suffered a serious injury, which he did, and he just wasn't right. He didn't have the burst. He didn't have the confidence until late in the season. Well, late in the season, he proved he can play. He had a full off season. He's got to bust his ass to prove to everybody that he can start here. I love the linebacking core. I love it. Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean could start on any teams in the NFL. Maybe not the 49ers, possibly, but they can start anywhere. You can put those guys on playoff teams today, and Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker would start on playoff teams, and the Raiders are a 3-win team. What an upgrade at that position. What's going to happen to Tommy Eichenberg, Cody Lindenberg? Who are these guys? Are they special teams guys? Are they in jeopardy of getting cut? Because there's more depth now, and they're not going to play as much, or are they going to compete? And then when we get to Kwity Paye, man, Eric Allen talked about him. You heard with Paul Gutierrez and some of the work he did on some of the breakdowns. Got to get a lot out of Kwity Paye. And then we get to the defensive backfield that I feel better about now, because I know that Isaiah Palamal is okay. I think Jeremy Chin is above average, but he's not a Pro Bowler. Darian Porter is proving that his size, I hope he put on a little bit of muscle mass. We'll get a chance to see that. Is a really good player, young prospect, but he's a young prospect. He's not a proven veteran. And then Teron Johnson comes over from Buffalo, and he played in a lot of games. All those games against the Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Patriots who went to the Super Bowl, this guy has lined up against some of the best. And I think at the nickel position, to be in the slot, he's going to have a really good year. But Traden Stukes is the X factor. I believe, and I think so now, and hold me to it, I think that Traden Stukes will start. He'll start on opening day against Miami. He's just too versatile and too good. So if he doesn't come out in the first possession, I think he's going to be in the entire game coming in and out, because you can line him up. He plays hybrid safety, linebacker. He can run with the speedsters. And Miami doesn't have the receivers they used to have with Tyreek Hill, obviously. But he can run, and he's going to be able to play. And then the depth will play out in regards to this depth chart, Jamon McCoy, who they're going to bring him along in a unique way, aren't they? I mean, the guy ran 4.3 plus at the combine, coming off the injury. When you look at him, I mean, the guy can run. Excuse me, with coming off the injury, coming out of Tennessee, he can run. He's proven. The Raiders drafted him, and they think he is right. But I don't know how you bring a guy back from that type of injury during training camp. I don't know. I think that he's going to be in the weight room. He's going to be working on the side until they feel like they can get him in to see how explosive of a player he can be. But the depth chart that I'm looking at here is better than last year because last year it was lean. Do you even remember the starting linebackers last year? Anybody? Bueller? Anyone? Remember the starting linebackers? You don't, right? There weren't many of them. Now we have new ones who are going to jump in and play. And then the rotation around Max Crosby. And speaking of Max, I don't know. I want to see Max play as much as he wants to play and the coaches want him to play. But can Max sustain playing every snap? Well, he's going to play every snap if these games are tight. But in a 27-3 game like last year or blowouts, you got to get Max Crosby off the field because you got to save the guy. It's not load management, but it kind of is because he's got a lot of snaps left in him. But Max has got to be at his best. And all indications are Max is going to fly this year. A lot of guys, my buddy Murph, who has a podcast, and others, Jesse Merrick, everybody who's talking about Max Crosby have high expectations for a defensive player of the year. Now, that typically would go to Myles Garrett, leading the league in sacks, the best defensive end. He's better than Max Crosby. He is. But Max believes he can be better, and he could play at that level for an entire season. And if he does, I think Max Crosby will be in the hunt for Defensive Player of the Year, but the Raiders are going to have to win games. Myles Garrett was able to win that award because he was just a freak, and Max Crosby is also a freak. I'm not too worried about the depth of anything on the offensive side of the ball other than wide receiver. And the big issue is going to come up over the next couple of weeks from our entire team on Raider Nation Radio. I'm sure the morning tailgate, Q, I'm going to be interviewing people from Raiders camp, and we're going to get people on, NFL insiders, and the first thing they're going to say is that the Raiders wide receiver room is not sufficient enough. These guys got to prove it. They got to prove it. And Jack Besh, this is a prove it year for Jack Besh. I love the kid. I think he's been through a lot with the loss of his brother. He's a young guy. He's really young. He didn't get a lot of looks. I don't think his coaching was ideal last year also. Jalen Naylor comes in. People think he could play at a very high level. Yeah, what's his ceiling? A top number 2? Or can he be a middle-of-the-road number 1 wide receiver? We'll get a chance to see it. And Trey Tucker, I think they like Trey Tucker. Clint Kubiak does. I think you have to have a speedster on this team who can stretch the field on the outside and open up the middle of the field for Brock Bowers. And as of today, that is Trey Tucker. And Trey Tucker's got to prove that. Dante Thornton Jr., I think this is make or break. Make or break for Dante Thornton Jr. He might be on this roster for years to come because they want to develop him. No, this is make or break for him. He's got to prove that he could be a red zone target for Kirk Cousins. I'm talking about 1st and goal at the 9, high point fade to Dante Thornton Jr. Because if he can't catch a high point fade with his height and jumping ability, then he shouldn't be here. He should be a go-to target. There's no Devontae Adams here. There's no Justin Jefferson here. He's going to get his targets. He's got to prove it. And then lastly, what's going to happen to Aiden O'Connell? Anybody thinking about that? We know this is Fernando Mendoza's team, even if he doesn't start. The franchise is being built around Fernando Mendoza for obvious reasons. Kirk Cousins is going to help him along. But I'm looking at roster depth around the league. Aiden O'Connell should be the starter in Arizona, and he should start over Geno with the Jets. So those are two teams that Aiden O'Connell wouldn't be the third quarterback as he is in Las Vegas. He'd be the starting quarterback. How great would it be for Aiden O'Connell? And I love the guy. I want him to be here. But if he was a starting quarterback in Arizona or for the Jets, what happens if he got out there and he played really well and we looked at him in a different light? I believe that there will probably be, most likely, an injury to a starting quarterback in training camp where teams will make a call on Aiden O'Connell because Aiden O'Connell is ready to go. He's ready to start in this league, but not for the Raiders. unless there's an injury or something happens. I think Kirk Cousins, as we talked about, will start the season. If he's healthy and wins, he'll keep the job. Fernando should be up next. But the schedule, if Cousins doesn't play really good early, Fernando would be thrown into a gauntlet. And let me mention that again before we come back, because with the Raiders' schedule and what they're looking at here, Miami at home, at the Chargers, at New Orleans, Kansas City at home. Those first 4 games, I believe the Raiders will go 2-2. I do. I think they're going to beat Miami. I think they're going to beat New Orleans. It's tough for me to say they're going to win at the Chargers, but we're due. The Chargers roster's back and healthy, and it's better than the Raiders. And then Kansas City, the good news is that Kansas City game is at home, and Kansas City wasn't very good. But after those 4 games, if the Raiders aren't 2-2, which I think they could be, or better, 3-1, a decision has to be made at quarterback, but I don't think you can make one there. I don't think you can throw Mendoza into this. Look at this schedule in October. October 11th at New England. October 18th, home to Buffalo. October 25th, home to the Rams. And then November 1st at the Jets. The earliest that I think Fernando could come in if Kirk Cousins is struggling would be the Jet game, because it would be Jets at 49ers, but then Seattle come in and at Denver. Oh, boy. Every time I see a little spot to come in here and say maybe the schedule has a break. No team in the NFL has a tougher back-to-back game than Buffalo and the Rams. Fortunately, the Raiders get those games at home. They're not at Buffalo or at the Rams. But who has those 2 games back-to-back? What team won 3 games that you can remember has a schedule that has at New England, no, Kansas City, at New England, who just went to the Super Bowl, Buffalo, who should go to the Super Bowl, and the Rams, the best team in roster in all of football. That's what we got. Got to deal with it. Got to handle this schedule. Because when the schedule opens up after the bye week with Tennessee and Arizona, and right before the bye week at Cleveland, all winnable games, man, that schedule could put the Raiders in harm's way if they don't navigate the early portion of that schedule, which I think they will. All right, when we come back, more on the NBA. The NBA is rocking, and we're still waiting on LeBron James. That would have been good breaking news for today or tomorrow. I don't think it's coming, because I think LeBron enjoys his big red wines, his trips to Italy. He's learning how to golf. He's playing private golf. And I think he's going to make all these teams wait. We'll get into that next on a Thursday. This is Raider Nation Radio.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
JT, we're back here, and we're excited for NBA Summer League starting on Monday. I'll be at NBA Summer League for this show from noon to 2. We'll be there on Monday and Thursday. So if you're going to Summer League for our Vegas audience, they got a nice remote area set up and a staging area in the concourse, and we will be there. And I'm excited about that. Albert Hall, who sets us up from the first show ever done at NBA Summer League, was me. I don't know how many years ago it was. I could find the exact date. I think it was myself and Steve Cofield, who's on our ESPN station here. We go back that far, and we were live from NBA Summer League. And I will tell you, when NBA Summer League began, I sat there and I questioned it. I'm like, this is kind of weird. I mean, who cares? It's summer. It's a bunch of draft players. Who's here? It's a monster now. It's an absolute monster. You get a chance in Vegas here to see every draft pick. So anybody who got drafted in the first and second round are there. They have to be there. So they're there, and Acuff, and you look at all the great players that were just drafted in this last class, Boozer, all of them. They're going to play their first ever NBA game officially. And I know there's some NBA Summer League up in the Bay Area, so they got a quick head start on that. I know the Warriors look pretty good, actually, with their team in Summer League as they kick it off there. I think they call it the California Classic, but then it comes here, and then it's mandatory for all the teams. And what's great about this, the owners are here. The owners, the vice presidents, the scouts. And I remember when Jerry West was alive. And please, go watch his documentary. If you haven't seen the documentary, I think it's on Amazon Prime, of Jerry West. It's one of the best I've ever seen. It's incredible to see what Jerry West did as a young boy growing up in West Virginia to an iconic college player, one of the greatest college basketball players of any era. And then he goes on to his great career, played in nine NBA finals and lost eight. Lost 8 of 9 NBA finals, mostly to the Celtics. And then he wins one, and you only need one. But Jerry West, the logo, he would always be at NBA Summer League, and you could go up to him and say hello, shake his hand, and that was a great memory for me there. So NBA Summer League, what I recommend for everybody, I say it every year, and I'll say it again on Monday, is if you're in Vegas or if you're close to Vegas and you can get here, bring your kids. It is the greatest experience for young people that want to grow up and walk from one court to the other, because you got the Thomas and Mack Center, which is the main big court, and then you got Cox Pavilion. And you can just walk from court to court, sit there, and for kids, it's amazing. They can run around unsupervised. You can let your boys and girls run and get autographs and hang out and take pictures and cool off because it's so hot and there's not a lot to do for kids this time of year in the summer. Take them to NBA Summer League. Get a ticket. You can sit anywhere other than the VIP stuff. You can move around, and you'll have a great time. And the kids will thank you for it because of the autographs and the ability to have these moments with these young NBA draft picks before they play in the NBA. I highly recommend it. So on Thursday, but pretty much Friday in the summertime, I might play one of our better interviews, and I'm off tomorrow. So I wanted to hear Amin Elhassan again, who's a fantastic NBA insider, and I'll see him at Summer League next week on Thursday. So hopefully we get him on again on this LeBron James story and what LeBron's going to do. And I think it's changed. I think the Philadelphia 76ers today, when I got up this morning and looked at this and looked at a couple of Philly articles, I think Philadelphia is going to make a late run at LeBron James because of what they're able to do to get Jaylen Brown. So I put Philly into the mix right now, but I asked Amin, why are we waiting? Why hasn't LeBron James made a decision yet?
I was doing NBA Insiders this morning with Jason Jackson, and he asked the same question. I said, is this your first LeBron free agency? This is what he does. He wants all the attention. He wants the pomp and circumstance going along with it. And the thing that makes it different this year is that Rich is not just his agent. Rich is also a content creator. He's got that podcast that he does with Max Kellerman, Game Over. It's a great podcast, and it's a great listen, not only for kind of the entertainment, but the information and kind of an insight to how Rich Paul sees the world and sees specifically the business of basketball. Up until LeBron James is involved, and now it is kind of secondary to whatever the business angle is for LeBron Inc. And so I have no doubt that they know fully well where he's going to go, but they're just milking this thing out because you want the podcast to get some extra downloads, because LeBron wants the maximum amount of attention. He does not want to share his news breaking with, a massive World Cup match.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. That is really a good point, but you know the clues that are here. So the biggest clue was Draymond opting out for the opportunity for Rich Paul to get him with Joe Lacob and Steph, who we played internationally with at the Olympics. But what gained my attention over the last couple of days was this Jaylen Brown to the Sixers. And wow, with Maxey and if Embiid ever stays healthy, and LeBron wanted to play 22 to 24 minutes a night, that would be a good fit. And I've always thought, that it was going to be Cleveland, especially with the documentary and the content, ended all where it started. So why don't you handicap a couple of these cities, in your opinion, on where he could end up?
Well, I'll throw another one in for you that has not quite the symmetry of Cleveland, but a little bit of symmetry in Miami. And the Miami Heat are a team where there's both great promise and opportunity because of the arrival of Giannis Antetokounmpo, while at the same time, great opportunity for LeBron to actually be a meaningful part. To me, Philadelphia makes the least sense because it's crowded, right? If all those guys are healthy, and I know that's a big if in Philadelphia, but if all those guys are healthy, where does LeBron fit in? We saw him kind of reluctantly accept being that third guy in L.A. last season, and it really didn't come around until March until we kind of figured out what that looks like. But when you start talking about maybe the fourth guy in Philadelphia, it's a new city, and obviously the Jaylen Brown acquisition, there's a lot of eyeballs there. I don't know how much goodwill LeBron gets out of that. Cleveland is the obvious one, right? Go back to where you started, and the team, again, seems to be at a hump. They try to win one without you, and they really couldn't. So if you come back, you are the glorious benefactor. You say, here, I got you guys a championship. I know you needed one, and I came here to save the day. Golden State is interesting because if you think about LeBron's career, who's been his biggest rival? I know some people say Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant is almost from a different era, a different age. In the modern era, Steph Curry has been his biggest adversary. And so you sit there and you say, well, you've got 4, and I've got 4, and things haven't gone well for you lately. Just, Steph Curry, they were under 500 last year. They were a 10 seed. That is unbecoming of Steph Curry if he wants to win another championship. And LeBron has been kind of on the outside looking in Los Angeles. So it's like, why don't we win our 5th together, right? We know they like playing with one another. We know they like playing for Coach Kerr. We know, obviously, the Draymond connection. The Anthony Davis portion of that is where it gets far-fetched because it requires Washington to play ball, and I don't think they want to. So if I had to sum it all up, I think I would go number 1, Cleveland, number 2, Miami, number 3, Golden State, and then a distant 4th is Philly.
Amin Elhassan, NBA Radio. It's business season in the NBA. Sirius XM NBA Radio has you covered. LeBron is leaving the Lakers. He will play elsewhere next season as free agency continues to reshape the league. 24/7, your home for hoops, Sirius XM, NBA Radio, Channel 86 in your car and on the Sirius XM app. Okay, here's another one. LeBron James has never proven to us that he'll play for less. Never happened. Came from high school. He's been a top-tier athlete. He's a billionaire. So if Steph's going to make $62 million fully guaranteed, are you telling me LeBron would play for under $10 million or a little bit more for that, knowing that Steph, every time they go to a restaurant, is sitting across from him making $62 million a year? Could he do that?
Well, I go the opposite with you, JT. He's never said that he'd take less up until now. This is the first time he's ever come out and said the money is irrelevant. I'll play for minimum if the situation is right. These are his words or his words through Rich Paul that we haven't seen this approach before. The last time he took anything close to a pay cut, I want to say was when he got signed and traded from Cleveland to Miami, and they did that so that they could get Udonis Haslem and Mike Miller some money too. That's why him, Wade, and Bosh all took a hair less, not that much less, but a hair less than they were eligible for. But other than that, the guy kind of just gets market rate every single time and has never indicated even a willingness or desire to do otherwise until now. And so given that he opened that door, that's why we're here. If he hadn't opened that door, Golden State would not be in the mix. Cleveland certainly would not be in the mix. And Miami with a hard cap would not be in the mix, and neither would Philadelphia. He understood, I think. He looked around and said, anywhere that can pay me is so far away from where I want to be, both geographically and also in the lifespan of a championship, that I cannot have this hard and fast rule anymore.
Wanted to ask you about the Celtics because Bill Russell played with John Havlicek during one of the worst times in American history for racial tension, as you know what Bill Russell went through. And those guys got along, and they made pennies compared to Jaylen Brown and Tatum. And now you're telling me Jaylen Brown and Tatum just couldn't be left alone to make $50+ million each and go after a few more chips with the Celtics. What are you hearing through your sources about what happened to a very cerebral and smart Jaylen Brown and how that soured in Boston?
So I got a couple of people. I will name my sources right here. Number one, I talked to Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. Does a tremendous job not only covering the Celtics, covering the NBA as a whole. Long-time reporter there in Boston. Really plugged in. He said, this is what I know about Jaylen Brown. He's never been shy or coy about telling you how he feels. You may not like how he expresses it. He's doing it in a live stream with some weird guys and wraparound sunglasses standing behind him. The methodology we may not agree with. But the motive and the directive is always the same. He is very upfront. So for Jaylen Brown to be so upset that he can't be here anymore, without Jaylen Brown ever saying, I'm so upset I can't be here anymore, trade me, those two things do not jive, right? Those two things do not jive. So what's more likely is the Celtics, whether it's the front office or ownership or whoever, are feeling awkward about the situation. They did try to trade him for Giannis. It failed. And now they're worried about what's happening, right? That's one prevailing theory, that they're worried about what could happen. I talked to Tony Allen. I said, Tony, you were part of a team that brought in 2 superstars to a team that had already had one in Paul Pierce and had another one kind of in the wings in Rajon Rondo. How did you make it? How did they make it work for you guys? And Tony said, they didn't do anything. We did it in the locker room. Pickett walked in, Kevin Garnett walked in and declared, hey, Paul's going to be the guy. And Ray said, yeah, Paul's the guy. And that was that. They could have fought. They could have argued. Pickett was a couple of years removed from being MVP of the league. Ray Allen, obviously, also been on 50-plus win teams in Seattle. Paul was the best player on the team that lost 18 games in a row. So there clearly could have been an argument. Oh, why are we giving it to Paul? But those guys settled it. So by the time Danny Ainge was back into that locker room, it was already taken care of. Is that happening in Boston's locker room right now? You got to tell me who that guy is and how he's mended the fences between Jaylen Brown and anyone else, because I don't believe that's happened. The other, and perhaps way more likely scenario is Jaylen Brown's up for an extension. There's new ownership. They don't want to spend the money. That's it. And when I look at Brad Stevens, a guy I really respect, his basketball acumen, and I look at that front office, Mike Zarin, Dave Lewin, those are all really bright guys who have been at it for a long time. Screwed front office people. For them to do that deal, someone asked me, what would compel them to just take pennies on a dollar like that? I said, I know what would compel them. It's someone who's upstairs who's saying, get it done, get it done, get it done. I know because I've lived it. I've worked for a front office who had an owner who was just on our heads at all times about getting the salary down. And at some point, it's his team. You got to do what the guy wants.
Amin Elhassan, as we wrap it up, what can you tell our Laker audience about their new big three? And does anything concern you about the temperament of Luka Doncic over the next year or two? Because they're saying they got to give Luka this, they got to give Luka that. It's his team. Well, Dallas saw something to move on from Luka. Okay, you could debate that all day, right or wrong. How many more years is Luka going to be happy with this group in LA if he can't get by OKC and the Spurs?
Right. So what I would say is, I don't think, much like Boston, I think we can all understand, I had to trade the guy. All right, that's fine. Did you have to trade the guy for that? That's what's always going to follow Nico Harrison around, and it'll probably follow Brad Stevens around. You have to trade him, but you have to trade him for that. But all right, that's aside. That's old history in the case of Luka Doncic. Now, Luka, the deck has been cleared. There's no LeBron. There's no clutch kind of pulling strings behind the scenes, or as was kind of intimated or whatever, insinuated. So now it's your team. It's built in your image. You wanted a big that could protect the rim and finish and catch lobs. They got you Walker Kessler. You wanted shooting. They got you shooting. You got everything. So now the burden falls back on him. His happiness is under his control. His ability to show up in shape and stay in shape, to stay disciplined. We all love to make fun of Zion Williamson for not being able to stay disciplined with regard to his body. Luka Doncic has the same problem, maybe not to Zion's extent, but he still has the same problem. So he's got to show, hey, I'm going to give up all those fun things I like to do because they get in the way of me being the best possible player. And then the last part of it is both him and Austin Reeves, they have to show renewed commitment on the defensive end. Is that going to be enough? I'll be honest with you, probably not. The Spurs and the Thunder are really good. Nikola Jokic still exists. Minnesota is going to be interesting and different. The Lakers have their work cut out for them. But the idea that it's somehow the team's fault or someone else's fault, I think those days have come to an end. It's now Luka's time to get the glory, but also get the blame.
I always appreciate our time together. I hope we connect during Summer League in my town, Vegas. I hope to see you here in the next couple of weeks.
I'll be there on Thursday, JP.
So again, thanks to Amin Elhassan, who does a nice job over at NBA Radio. And that's what we're doing. We're previewing what we're going to be doing next week in NBA Summer League, hopefully talking to a few NBA insiders along the way. When we come back, we're going to thank some of our new partners, some of our old partners, as we get really close to starting our season. coming up on August 15th. What we do is from August 15th, the Super Bowl, we have a bunch of sponsors and new sponsors that jump in with us. And we got a few we want to thank ahead of time. And then we'll recap what's coming up with World Cup, the World Cup schedule, which is big time, right? France, Morocco going off, which is massive, but some of the other games. And my Yankees are absolutely collapsing. I went and saw, I've been saying it all show, I went and saw Kenny Chesney last night. And on my way to Kenny Chesney, looking at the collapse of the Yankees, I really think the end is coming for Aaron Boone. I don't think Aaron Boone can survive this if he continues to lose, especially to Tampa. More on that as we continue. JT on a Thursday, off tomorrow. You can follow everything we're doing at lvsportsnetwork.com. Welcome back, everybody, to Raider Nation Radio. JT wrapping it up today on a Thursday. Great to have Clay back. Clay, thank you for everything today, especially one of these days today, a getaway day for me as I'm heading out of town, and I'll be back here on Monday. I want to thank Ari also, who hosted a bunch of shows with me and produced it, and now Clay's back, and I'm thrilled about that. We want to thank a couple of our partners momentarily. As I've been saying, we'll be at NBA Summer League coming up on Monday, and then after that, we'll see what we got, because Raiders camp opens with rookies on July 23rd. The veterans come in on July 28th, and then it's go time. Right when we flip to August, every day pretty much is a practice. There's a few off days, obviously, for the players. The 3 preseason games, the Raiders usually do something great. We do something every year and open up the stadium at Allegiant. I don't know what they're doing this year. I haven't been told yet. But hopefully you get an opportunity to come out to some of the open practices that'll be out in Henderson. And normally they're early because of the heat, like today. So when you're playing football, the Raiders have this amazing indoor facility, but you want to practice outside. You want to get out there on the grass and get after it. But for the Raiders, they're going to have to do that early in the morning, and they're very accustomed to that. And it's going to be fun to see what Clint Kubiak does with his practices, because not only is it Clint Kubiak, Rob Leonard, who we're familiar with, coming back, he's running the defense, but all of these other coaches, I've never seen them coach before. So I'm wondering how they're going to do drills, what their style is going to be under Clint Kubiak, how brisk a practice is going to be. The days that they do have an opportunity to be in pads are enormous, because in the NFL, you just don't get padded practices. You don't. In the season, even in preseason, there's not many padded practice days. So those are the big days. And then the dual workout with another team this year will be with Houston, as the Raiders go to Houston for a preseason game. And that's a good team to practice against, because they're a monster on defense. You want to talk about the Raiders' offensive line and being tested before the first game of the year against Miami? Oh, they'll be tested against Houston. Not so much in the preseason game, but in the dual practice out there, because Houston's defense in front is arguably the best in all of football. And for Tyler Linderbaum and the rest of this offensive line, as they're trying to come together, the big test, in my opinion, this whole preseason will be when they're working out against the Houston Texans and what they're going to see there, because those guys are no joke, and it'll be a great test for this offensive line. Yesterday after the show, Wednesday, we went to Bel Air over at Durango, one of our partners here with Click Hospitality, and we met with our teammates at Remy Martin. And they're back with us for football season. So I want to thank Stephen Brody, my good friend Tori. And we're back with Remy Martin, and they have a lot going on. They were telling us about Cointreau, which is the greatest mix you could ever put into tequila. Doesn't matter what your tequila is, and we have Fletcher Azul, which I'll get to. You can mix a margarita with Cointreau. Remy Martin, 1738. They have a new rum coming out, which we're going to be talking about, and just proud of this partnership, because Remy Martin's got one of the biggest brands in the world with the Louis, the top shelf, and all of their other brands. They're back with us for football season. They're activated inside Allegiant Stadium. So thanks again to Remy Martin as they are back with us for another football season. Before I wrap it up, I want to thank the Black Hole and Mark Jones. The Black Hole is going to have their opening game party at the Palms. Go to theblackhole.com and see the artists, see the event. Become a member of the Black Hole, so that party is just going to be a part of some of the great things and experiences you'll have. I'm telling you this, the weekend of the first game of the year, the home opener, The Black Hole is throwing one of the biggest parties in the history of their existence. I'm a member of the Black Hole. Please become a member. I think you'll love that party. Boyd Gaming, 10 local casino properties here in town. The local casino partner of the Silver and Black, always bet on black. Happy birthday to Steve Gomez the other day, who is our Modelo guy, and he's also a member of the Black Hole. We thank Modelo, proud partner of the show. Alex in Orlando DeCastroverde, the DeCastroverde Law Group. Brothers Win, brotherswin.com. If you get into an accident, you see it all over town. It's crazy on the 215, the 15, the side streets. Be safe, but if you need them, the DeCastroverde Law Group. Finley Volvo Cars of Las Vegas, where my wife test drove an unbelievable crossover vehicle last week, thanks to Mike over at Finley Volvo Las Vegas. 215 in Rainbow, you can't miss it. Right before that giant switch, you know, that company Switch that has all that data center, it's red on the 215. They're right at the border of that. You can't miss it. We like to thank M Resort, where the Raiders and the Raider rookies are settling in pretty quickly here in July. That's the official hotel of the Silver and Black. That's where the rookies stay. That's where they stay before games. We thank the M Resort. Michael E. Minden, my personal jeweler. Thank you to Michael E. Minden. If you need something, why would you need something now? I don't know. You might be getting engaged. You might want to get your mom something. You might want to get a diamond ring or earrings. Michael E. Minden has you covered. It's a great store. Everybody knows where it is when they go to the Fashion Show Mall on the second store, and Michael's there. Michael's there every time I go there when my wife wants to get something fixed or buy something new, thanks to Michael E. Minden. And Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, One Love, proud partner of the show. Our new vodka is Aspen Vodka. They're the official vodka of the Yankees and the Raiders. You want to talk about a deal. How do you become the official vodka of the Yankees and the Raiders as a numero uno, number one, and Fletcher Azul tequila, our new tequila that we have this year. Smooth, all different options when you're looking to have a reposado, if you want an agave, whatever type of tequila you like. Fletcher Azul, it's fantastic. Proud partner of our show. And finally, Tommy White and the 872 Laborers, building this city on time and on budget. Thanks again to Clay. I'll be back on Monday. I'm heading up to Boise, Idaho. We're going to do some river rafting. Going to go see some live music. Marcus King. If you haven't heard of Marcus King, please listen. It's incredible. I'm going to Boise to watch him play. He's kind of like Dwayne Allman and Eddie Van Halen, a combination of Southern country rock with a ripping guitar player. So I've wanted to see this guy for a while, and we're going up with a nice group to see that. And the water's going to be cold. I guess it's going to be 100 degrees in Boise also, but a different type of 100 degrees as you're in the water, river rafting. Thanks again, everybody. Q's coming up next with the big show. We'll be back on Monday as we count down to the Raider preseason on the flagship of the Silver and Black. This is Raider Nation Radio.